One crit. Yeah, he says before getting stuck in a 30-second ad. So if you said hi while you were in ad purgatory, then hello again, one crit, and thank you for the well-wishing. Ah, Jedi says it was an ephemeral Xanathar. Sort of phasing in and out of existence. Well, thank you all for participating in Night 2 of the raffle. Congrats to the winners. And a pre-congratulations to our quantum winners, who are unknown to us, that will exist tomorrow evening when we give away a couple more fun prizes. And then Saturday, don't forget Saturday, the big prize, not that it'll be the only prize, but it will be the Adventurer's Campsite. And if you want me to, I'll paint it for you on the stream. Oh, snap, and Katie Sue is here, too? So Doomfish was just the harbinger for Katie Sue. I think Katie might be in Adpocalypse, or not Adpocalypse, but Ad Purgatory as well. Although, speaking of raffles, I better take that notification down because the raffle... where are you? The raffle is over. Where there is one, the other soon follows. It's like Doomfish and Katie Sue know each other, so I know it's weird. It's uncanny. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit of work to do, don't we, tonight? We're going to be doing something old and something kind of new. Right, this is an anniversary stream. Like, we're not going to do, necessarily like a full campaign week 1 that we're back here. But what we can do is, let's go back to our roots a little bit, right? Let's make a random character. We're going to stick to the core rulebooks. And after we make that character, our part 2 tonight, will be taking that character, and let's look at ways the character can use his or her spells or other features or creative, expressions of this character. So not only will we bring up the mechanics of the character, and we'll touch on the character's personality, pardon me, but now let's do the same thing and take a deeper delve into the spells we select, into maybe the weapon choices or the uses of the weapons that we give this person, depending on whatever he and she will have. Now, if you're new here, we use a spreadsheet here that I haven't seen Bubonic one around, but I thank him for making it into a spreadsheet like this. But I was using a spreadsheet or a document before that allows for you to make a completely random character, which don't be afraid to do in 5th edition. You can't really make a bad character. It's difficult to do in 5e. But anyway, through a series of random rolls, revealing one part of the character at a time and telling his or her story as we do so, we're going to make a character from scratch. In fact, speaking Jedi Crusader, you talked about an ephemeral Xanathar. We're pulling this character from these ethereal mists. Is ephemeral him or herself. And so, Jedi, you said that you're new to D&D, and you know what? For those of you else who are new to D&D, I hope that you can enjoy this process, and if you have questions, please ask. With rare exception, we're going to be sticking pretty much to the player's handbook. And if you're new to D&D, the player's handbook is going to be like 90% of D&D for you. Just the DMG and the monster manual make up the other 10% if you're a dungeon master. Okay. So here's our character sheet. Now, we do use a slightly modified character sheet, and if you want a character sheet, exclamation point char sheet. And if you want this variant sheet, exclamation point charvar for character variant. All right, so with that, let's get rolling, huh? I'm going to roll a percentile die to figure out if we have a female character or a male character. And you'll notice I have a 1 to 45 or a 46 to 90. That's because I'm allowing for a 10% chance on a 91 to 100 for the character to be multi-classed, in which case I'll roll again for male or female, or I guess another multi-classed job. Well, that's Final Fantasy. Here we go. Percentile 8. All right, so we have a female. Now I'm going to roll a d10. If I get a 10, I'll re-roll, because there's 9 races in the player's handbook. 2, an elf. Now, there are 2 normal sub-races for elves, wood elves and high elves. I do leave the option for a drow to be randomly generated. If we decide, or if we randomly roll that this elf is evil, I will re-roll and see if we get a drow. And then it has a... I don't want to make this sound complicated. Right now, odds or evens are on an evens it's a high elf, on an odds it's a wood elf, and we'll go from there. Reroll the d10. Evens. All right, so this is a female high elf. All right, so from these celestial mists, through which you can see time and galaxies and whatnot, maybe you're starting to get a shape in your mind for this character. Now, let's determine this character's alignment. A character's alignment is an expression of the character. The traditional axes are good, neutral, and evil, lawful, neutral, or chaotic. I'm going to roll 2 percentile die and find out where on this grid they meet. 45, 72. Oh, just on the cusp of good. And 72 moves us over to a chaotic good. Chaotic good, female high elf. So we don't have a drow. Now, at home, do you want to make a drow straight up? Make a drow straight up. The way that we do things here is a little bit different because we want to do this from a storytelling perspective, or at least get you to think about your character in a step-by-step fashion. So no matter how you build your character at home, you might be able to extract some extra information from her or him. Oh, shit. Funny. All right. At which level will we generate this character? Let's roll a percentile die. All right, diadems. 55 translates to a level 13 character. Now, you may have noticed so far, well, wait, we know she's an elf. But what's her class? All right, come on. People always describe their characters as a female elf paladin or a male tiefling rogue. We're getting there. Class is one of the last things that we roll randomly, right? Let's figure out, well, as far as we are human beings, we're not human doings. Who is this character? And then we'll figure out what this character does. Especially because I don't want, in 5th edition, backgrounds can often be overlooked. Right? To have a stable stool, you need at least 3 legs. The stool upon which your character sits is based on race, class, and background. And your background is so important because it tells you who your character is. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway. Let's roll percentile because I want to see if this character is going all stat bumps, or instead of taking an ASI, or an ability score improvement, a stat bump, we decide to take a feat instead. And feats are specializations, which not all DMs may allow in their game, as a heads up. Let's roll a percentile. 56. It's all on us. Taking stat bumps at 4, 8, and 12. Alright. Now for the character's background. We know she's a high elf. Good. Congratulations, you're born. What did you do? What was your first job? What are your hobbies? Do you have a life that you left behind to go adventuring? This is what that reflects. So let's generate a 13-sided die and roll it and figure out what her background is going to be. Je suis confuse, says Jedi Crusader. All the terms, all the words. Jedi, all we've done so far is we've determined that the character we're making is a female, and she's an elf. Particularly one that's a little bit more studious and magical. The alignment of chaotic good, think of chaotic as spontaneous. So, lawful or chaotic? Are you methodical or are you spontaneous? Good and evil? Are you more selfless or selfish? You can have a chaotic, evil character that donates money to an orphanage out of the kindness of his or her heart. That does not violate this expression. Right? You can have good thoughts and be a bad person. You can be a good person and have very bad thoughts. And so the alignment is simply, how do you express yourself? How do you express your thoughts? Would chaotic good be a tsundere? Possibly. Honestly, tsundere could be applied even to lawful good. Alright, 13-sided die. What is our character's background? 7. A hermit. Okay, she's a hermit. Now, in the player's handbook, there are 8 different varieties of hermits that they suggest you could be. If you're doing a home game, you could make something up. Let's roll a D8, an 8-sided die, and figure out which type of hermit she is. We get a 7. Hermit, number 7. I don't know what number 7 means, and it's not important right now. We have a placeholder. So, Jedi, don't let me get you all frazzled. Don't let me get you thinking, oh my gosh, this hobby's so convoluted, I can't keep up. If you need me to slow down and explain something, just let me know. Okay, now, as another part of your background, you get 2 personality traits. So we're going to roll 2d8, 8 and 2. Again, these are just placeholders. All will be revealed. Now I'm going to roll 3d6, or 6-sided die. 3, 5, and 1. Our ideal is 3, our bond is 5, and our flaw is 1. What do they mean? Doesn't matter right now. We'll get to it. Let's define our character a little bit more. Let's finish pulling her from the ether. Aha. Now, what kind of adventurer is she? This is where we have 12 different classes. And I just so happen to have a big golden D12 right above my head up here. I'm going to hit this golden D12 and we're going to find out. You know, we have a female high elf who was a hermit of some variety. And how does she act? What was her training? What kind of adventurer is she? Let's find out. We rolled a 10. A 10 is a sorcerer. Or I guess in this case a sorceress. Now, sorcerers have 2 subclasses in the player's handbook. You can be a sorcerer that was born of draconic blood. Meaning your magic as a sorcerer comes from this draconic heritage, right? Someone in your family at some point in time had took a shine to a dragon. And somewhere this influence, or if you like Bloodborne, maybe you were the subject of an experiment and you've been infused with dragon blood. Or maybe if you don't want to do it sort of the old-fashioned way, or you don't want to do it through science, a dragon has taken up residence next to your village. And the sheer presence, like the magical ripples that a dragon exudes, act as kind of like radiation that mutates you into being able to use magic. There's a lot of different ways to express your character. And don't be afraid to think outside the box with them. For mechanical purposes, they call it Draconic Bloodline, or Wild Magic is the other option, where you're just a conduit for magic, and for the most part you can control it, but sometimes things get wacky. And if you watch our Tuesday campaign, you'll know you'll know some of the effects that can happen with wild magic. Oh geez, Black Wolf. So I'm gonna, on the D12, I'm gonna roll evens or odds to find out which kind of sorcerer we have. We rolled evens, wild magic. Okay, there we go. That could be it too, right? Dragon boogers, or worse, got into the water supply. Exactly, Jedi. Alright, so she's going to be a conduit for magic that can have some interesting effects, as she can manipulate fate in a way. Or because she's so brimming with magic, sometimes a little bit extra kind of pops out in an unexpected way. Alright, now lastly, we've started to define aspects of her life as an entity. Let's give her a physical silhouette. If we look here, high elves start at 4 feet 6 inches tall. We are going to add 2d10 inches to her height. We're adding 3 inches. So she is 4 feet 9 inches tall. So she's a short stack. Not physically a small character, or not mechanically a small character. She's still technically medium, but she is 4'9". Now, we're going to take that 3, and we are going to multiply it by 1d4 pounds. And then we're going to add that to her base weight of 90. So we're adding 12 pounds. So she is 4'9" at 102 pounds. I appreciate the discretion, Jedi. And now, where in her life is she? How do we find her? Is she a young child? Is she a child prodigy? She's studied and she's just ahead of the curve? Is she in the middle of her life? Is she ancient and venerable? Because consider that for your characters, whether you're writing a book or a story, you're writing, a module or an adventure, or you're just making your character. What would the difference be if we took this exact same character mechanically and we made her a child as opposed to an elder, despite all of everything else being the same, as a hermit, as a whatever? So I don't want you all to forget that age can play a factor into who your character is. Perhaps she's a hermit because she doesn't have full control of her magic and keeps herself... Hey, that could very well be, Rytel. Keep that in mind. That's a good prompt. That's a good prompt. Something's going to have to cause her to come out of her hermitage, right? And yes, Black Wolf, it is different than the standard. In the past, yeah, I had a relative wrestle with a dragon, and after 9 months. Now, let's roll a percentile die. 1d100. 65. 65, we have a middle-aged character. Now, for an elf, middle age is going to be different, right? We're looking at column 4. For elves, she's between 351 and 500 years old. So I'm going to generate a 150-sided die and roll it, and we're going to determine how old she is and where she is in her middle age. 82. So that is going to be 432 years. There we go. Now that we have these details, and Jedi, let me ask you this, because you're the newcomer here. I'm not trying to pick on you. Have you been able to slowly develop a concept for this character in this initial round of creation? Because we've now finished all our random number generation. This is probably the one Twitch channel that really enjoys RNG. As much as we hear that term. And now that we've done that, all of this, woo, it can go. We don't need it. Because now it's time to take a look at our character's character. Who is she? What does she think? How does she act? And what does she do? You know, Rytel was kind of showing a little ankle. Oh my. Rytel was showing a little bit of ankle in that sort of thought process, right? And so I want to begin with her background as a hermit, right? Because your background is something you did. You could still be actively a hermit, I guess, in an adventure, but you definitely were doing it before the adventure started. This is something that has left an impact on you. It's taught you skills. It's molded your personality, who you are. And so in chapter 4, students, get your books out. Come on, D&D school's back. You had your winter break. Come on. Open your books. We are going to go to backgrounds in chapter 4. They're listed alphabetically. And we're going to find the Hermit, which is right here on page 134. No, Funny Dill. If this was an anime, I'd throw an eraser at you. Pouty Lips, you're very welcome. I'm happy to celebrate with you all. You know, I'm glad that you all that you stop by the stream, you say hi, you follow along in the workshops. You know, you support the channel through conversation, attendance. You know, some of you might sponsor minis, or some of you might subscribe or whatever. There's so many different ways that you are here and you show support for the channel, and so I love being able to do this stuff with you all. So Funny's playing into it here. Okay, our life of seclusion, right? We're hermit number 7. Well, what does that mean? Kind of sounds like a science experiment, right? Jedi, I love it. Thank you for role-playing along with that. Kudos to you, sir. Or ma'am, I'm sorry. I guess anymore like the guys or even sir is kind of generic, but whole other issue, right? Well, anyway. This was a cold one. It's still rather chilly. And it's also cherry cola, not that. All right. Hermit number 7. In our life of seclusion, I was the caretaker of an ancient ruin or relic. Does this shift your perception of this character as you've been forming it? Maybe Rytel's like, whatever, this works. I got this. I called it. Dibs. But in this case, we've generated a hermit. And she was a hermit because she was the caretaker of an ancient ruin or relic. In her hermitage, she's going to get some skill proficiencies, meaning she's going to be better at some skills than others. In particular, right, we're looking at this block up here. Medicine and religion are her skill proficiencies. No, right, Tel, what you said above can still work very well in this instance. We get a tool proficiency. Our tool proficiency is an herbalism kit. Right? Kind of living out in the wilds on our own. We had to learn how to harvest and prepare poultices and medicines and other, other things in order to be able to keep ourselves healthy and going. Language. We get one language of our choice. Well, being an elf, we learn the common tongue and we learn Elven. Or Elvish, if you prefer. Being a hermit, we'll learn one other language. Now, I put question marks here. If you're making this character for your own session, you'll probably have a better idea. Thematically, that language is probably the one that she has found in the ruins. It could be Draconic. It could be Dwarven. How about that? An Elven caretaker of Dwarven ruins. Why not? This is your character and your story. Obviously, work with your DM. Equipment. We get a scroll case stuffed full of notes from your studies or prayers. So I'm going to put scroll case with notes as an abbreviation. We are also going to get a winter blanket. That is pretty much our bedroll. That's what we sleep on. And we wear as like a cape or in order to keep us warm at night. We also have a set of common clothies. And an herbalism kit. Gotta stay healthy. I mean, elves are pretty good at perception, so you're obviously driving away any sort of glaucoma. And 5 gold pieces. Ta-da. Being a hermit doesn't pay the best, does it? So, now we know what she's been doing for who knows how long. Has she been the caretaker of these ruins for 100 years? Was she just recently tagged out by another elf to take up their 100-year vigil over the ruins? Think freely. Let's generate a world around this character, right? Because the character is a product of the world. We may be reverse engineering it, but we can in an organic process, we can very easily generate content of the world around her based on what we're seeing manifest in this character. All right, we get what's called a feature, a background feature. This one is called Discovery. The quiet seclusion of your extended hermitage gave you access to a unique and powerful discovery. The exact nature of this revelation depends on the nature of your seclusion. It might be a great truth about the cosmos, the deities, the powerful beings of the outer planes, or the forces of nature. It could be a sight that no one has ever seen. You might have uncovered a fact that has long been forgotten or unearthed some relic of the past that could rewrite history. Woohoo! It might be information that would be damaging to the people who or consigned you to exile, and hence the reason for your return to society. Work with your DM to determine the details of your discovery and its impact on the campaign. The discovery feature can be very powerful because it is pure storytelling. Having this revelation, having this, having this discovery, having this knowledge. Maybe it comes with contacts or dangers. Now, let's delve deeper into her personality. Jedi Crusader, I hope that you're... Are you still with us? Are you good? If you need me to explain something, let me know. All right. What are her personality traits? Whoops, I went too far. Personality trait number 8 and number 2. Number 8 says, I am working on a grand philosophical theory and love sharing my ideas. So she may have been a hermit in that she lives alone. She was caretaking after this relic or this ancient site. But maybe she did entertain guests or visitors. People that a temple or a university or just people who found her. And she was happy to, fix them up and send them back on their way. But, that's how she heard about the outside world. It's from people who just accidentally, find their way there. Teach, you know me. I mastered this course. Yeah, I got you, Funny Dill. Her second personality trait is number 2. I am utterly serene, even in the face of disaster. Are we getting a better picture of the character? I hope so. Her ideal is number 3. Free thinking. Inquiry and curiosity are the pillars of progress. Now, this is labeled as a chaotic ideal. If we ended up getting logic, which is labeled as a lawful ideal, it's right behind my noggin here. It's fine. You can have a chaotic good character that has a logical, methodical, lawful ideal. It's fine. Because each of these are one facet of her personality. She may be logical, but the way she expresses her logic is sporadic, spontaneous, is fragmented. It makes sense up here, but to convey it is difficult. Ooh, pardon. Uh-oh. Tenebrian, I caught you sneaking into class. You have a pass? Do you have a pass from last period? It's alright, I already threw my eraser. So, I guess I just get to point you out in class and hopefully you feel shame and won't do it again. I don't know. You crazy kids. Alright, what's her bond to a person, a place, a thing, even beyond her discovery feature? Number 5. That is, should my discovery come to light, it could bring ruin to the world. I overslept, Teach. Ah, yeah, that's what you said last time, Tenebrian. Come on. As Blizzard indicated, everyone has mobile phones now. Therefore, you should have an alarm set. And should be here on time. So open up your player's handbook, Mr. Bister. And hey, welcome to the Discord, Funny. So, should my discovery come to light, it could bring ruin to the world. You know what? Rytel. Maybe that's why she left. Right? She wants to tell people about this ruin that's to come. Because of something that's going on. Just like you were indicating. It can work. It can work very well. And lastly, her flaw. What's her flaw? Look, we're all flawed creatures. And if you say that you don't have a flaw, that is your flaw. Hers, in particular, is number 1. Now that I've returned to the world, Zawarudo, I enjoy its delights a little too much. We have a middle-aged elf who's probably been sitting on some ruins for a good long while, hardly getting contact with people. Do you think that when she gets to the first city next to her, that she won't want to visit a buffet? You know, I guess in this case, that's her flaw. She wants to go to the buffets, the brothels, maybe. I don't know. You know, when it comes to that content, that's more for you as the player to decide. Does she have an affinity for strong drink, drugs, gambling? Or honestly, can she just, you know, pure-hearted hermit, you know, keeping her extremely, you know, no worse than PG. She just wanders the city in awe of the buildings, of advancement, of, you know, of the fashions. However you want to take this prompt as the flaw, then do so if she's your character. All of them, says Jedi. Black Wolf says she likes to drink, but she can't hold her liquor. That could very well be. And right, remember, she's in her middle age. I mean, so what? She has like 350 more years to live, but oh well. You know, she's coming out of this hermitage. She's in her middle age now. Who knows how long she's been a hermit? You know, big city life, or even just a different biome, right? If she lived in a jungle ruin, and suddenly she goes up to a northern climate where it snows. What is this? She's probably heard of snow, and maybe she could even make magical frost or something. Who knows? Well, it depends on the spells we give her. But to have it happen, that wide-eyed wonder of experiencing your first snowfall, could be fun. Tenebrian rummages through his bag for a few minutes. I cannot seem to find it, sir. I don't know where to get a PDF file or a link. You can find some resources. You can find some resources there. As for this, you can find a book at your local hobby store. I mean, I'm biased because that's what I do for a living. You know, so you might have a friendly local game store. Libraries might carry it. Otherwise, if you have a big, like a corporate book chain, like Books A Million, or Barnes & Noble, they might carry D&D books as well. And if you want PDFs, you can also purchase them on D&D Beyond. And, you know, there could be some other ways for you to find them, but I'll leave that to your imagination since I want to make sure that, you know, I'm supporting the official, the official release. Or Black Wolf, yeah, if you're a masochist and you have an unfriendly local game store. Hopefully you don't. Okay. Congratulations, we have a D&D character, everyone. Yeah, sure, she doesn't have a sword in her hand. Sure, we didn't pick out her spells. But we have a character. We can understand her motives. We can now make decisions about what she might think about someone or something. She has a reason to exist and a way to express herself. Anything else we do beyond this? Yeah, there are important details and definitely important mechanics. But at its heart, we have who our character is. We have the cake, let's put some frosting on it. Alright, now in our player's handbooks, everyone, we are going to go to Chapter 2, Races, and specifically go to Elf. Now, there is a lot here that you can read. It will add amazing flavor and concepts for you to consider. I'm not just rushing past it because I think it's boring or dumb. It's good. But for what we're doing, because we are focusing on our character may not be the average elf described, or come from a society of elves, like what's presented. Not that that content's bad. In fact, we might even end up bending back that way. But I don't want to. I don't want to spend a lot of time going over that. Sort of more generic, like sociology of the character, or the racial culture of the character, or at least of the heritage of that character. I want to focus on the character herself. Yes, Tenebrian. Funny Dill, you may share with Tenebrian. Yes, thank you for doing so. Has anyone gotten so engrossed or liked their character enough they sort of made it come alive? Well, I'm sure there are people... I know there's people who have commissioned artwork to be made after their characters. There are those who might even come up with some costumes or props to wear at the D&D table as they're playing their character. It all depends on the mood of the table, the individual, the DM. But yeah, you can find people express themselves in all manner of ways. Different personality or persona? I'm sure there are people who really... in fact, if you want an interesting example, if you come by on Tuesday and you watch our Tuesday game where we broadcast a D&D game, you might enjoy a character named Jade the Wretched. And if you want some good like character acting, the player does get into the character and presents her in a very unique fashion that in her own way might be disturbing, but also is done to a very good degree to also make her a likable character because of the fact that, you know, you're getting the presentation where you know, Derek isn't just saying, well, I have a human warlock and I'm going to cast this spell, you know, so like a blue light flashes from my hand and it deals 10 damage. He does a good job of bringing the character to life. Oh, funny enough, I understand. We do have VODs if you want to go back and watch a VOD, and also I do post it on our YouTube channel if you want to follow along there. All right, so all elves, regardless of being a wood elf, a drow, or a high elf, get these elf traits. They're partially obscured by chat. I'm going to rework the UI on this to make sure that doesn't happen. All right, your dexterity score increases by 2. Elves are naturally more limber. So we're going to float this 2 here. Next up, we have a walking speed of 30 feet, meaning that we can climb 15 feet or swim 15 feet without, you know, any sort of other magical help or devices or whatever. We do have dark vision. In fact, in total darkness, we can still see 60 feet in front of us in black and white as if it was only dim light. Keen senses, we have proficiency in the perception skill. Well, there we go. We also have Fey ancestry. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed. So we're going to list that here versus charmed. And magic can't put you to sleep. So that, it may not come up too often, but that can be very powerful. And speaking of sleep, elves do not need to sleep. Instead, they meditate deeply, remaining semi-conscious for 4 hours a day. While meditating, you can dream after a fashion. Such dreams are actually mental exercises that have become reflexive through years of practice. After resting this way, you gain the same benefit that a human does from 8 hours of sleep. So we get trance. Can undead sleep? That can very much depend on the undead and whatever custom elements are at your tabletop. Funny. In fact, on Tuesday we had a vampire put to sleep, not in the way, but in the way. Although he didn't snore because he doesn't have to breathe. All right, now for being a high elf, your intelligence score increases by 1, and we get elf weapon training. You have proficiency with the long sword, short bow, and long bow. We also get to learn a cantrip, or sort of like a base level spell. Because growing up in this culture, Magic is a part of us. We study it. We learn something and carry it with us. You could be a fighter, or a barbarian. You could be a high elf barbarian, and yet you can still have this cantrip, even though barbarians don't. Well, one of the player's handbook ones does allow some kind of magical channeling. It's a little different though. But barbarians aren't traditionally associated with magic. But growing up, your parents taught you this cantrip, and you still carry it with you this day. So you know one cantrip of your choice from the wizard spell list. So under cantrips, I'm going to put High Elf, and we're gonna pick out a cantrip from there. What's something she would have learned as a kid growing up? And we get an extra language. You can speak, read, and write one extra language of your choice. So not only does our background give us a language, but growing up in this educated society also gives us access to an additional language. So this character can speak, read, and write in 4 languages fluently. Congratulations, we have an elf. Now it's time to build the sorcerer component. So now we're skipping ahead, class, to chapter 3. Sorcerers are on page 99. And as you can see, because we're building the 13th level, this is what we're going to worry about. And you know what, Jedi? This isn't a lot to worry about. Honestly, making a level 1 character takes the most time because there's so much information. Leveling up a character after that is like 5 minutes per level, unless you're really agonizing over which spells you want to take. Delcorin! Howdy! Oh, so Victor has a vendetta against a certain vampire. Well, I wish you happy hunting, Victor. Alright. A sorcerer is a D6 hit die class. You don't get a lot of hit points as a sorcerer or as a wizard. Your hit die represent kind of a total pool of health that you would have available to you. Because we're level 13, we get 13 D6 hit die. And so hit die can be used for some natural healing, so you don't have to use magic. It's a abstract measure of your overall ability to recover. And they also influence how many hit points you get every time you level up. Oh, no, Delcorin, depending on when you tuned in, I went down for 5 minutes to switch over from D&D to Jackbox Games. And during the Jackbox Games segment, when we were playing together, and by the way, congratulations again, Victor, for winning TKO, my ISP said, you know what? Let's do maintenance right now. Signal went out. Oh, well then, Victor. Yeah, it seems like you have a reason to go after this this character. All right. We get some weapon proficiencies. Again, my head is hiding it a little bit here. We get no armor proficiencies, and we learn a limited number of weapons to use. All of them are simple because look, we got to learn how to train our magic, and so with the exception of our elven training, which our background gave us, or our race gave us, we can use daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. We get no tool proficiencies by virtue of being a Baby Uten? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I really appreciate that. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Thank you for finding us and for coming along on the journey. Alright, so no tool proficiencies. Our saving throw proficiencies, so we're going to be better at these than others, will be Constitution and Charisma. And as you can see here, see where I'm filling in the little diamonds instead of the circles for the skills? Now, skills, we get to choose 2 from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. Well, religion's already taken care of by our background. And so, there's a couple ways you can decide to choose which skills you want. For our purposes of our exercise here in building a character, let's look at her personality. You know, let's look at other clues about the character. Why would she want to get better at a particular skill than in another one? So I'm working on a grand philosophical theory and love sharing my ideas. That could be Arcana. We already have religion, right? I'm utterly serene even in the face of disaster. So that could be Insight, right? Insight is reading people's emotions. Is, you know, someone lying to you? You kind of get that feeling. Someone just not telling you the whole truth. Can you read body language? Can you just pick up the vibe of a place with no words needing to be said? She's free thinking. Inquiry and curiosity are pillars of progress. Should my discovery come to light, it could bring ruin to the world. That might not be as influential. Now that I've returned, I enjoy the delights a little too much. Well, if she has this non-magical empathy, maybe even magical empathy, we'll cover this in our next part, but that could influence the spells that she takes. But it seems like maybe Arcana and Insight could be her strong points. Now, if you think differently, let me know in chat. Look, what am I out? A couple electrons for clicking a button? Where's a Vistani when you need one, says Delcorin. They have their own Psychic Friends network. They kind of are Psychic Friends. Tenebrian, thinking of this character, I'm getting a mix of Luna Lovegood and Madame Pomfrey from Harry Potter. Hey, I'm glad that you're able to start kind of anchoring aspects, right? You're getting a vibe. You're being able to apply feelings and concepts to her. Victor says this Wednesday I was playing in a Kobunism, a Kobold Communism campaign, and my Kobold Samurai burned alive. Ouch. I recommend not doing that, Victor, for the health of your character. I feel the wistful but evil nature from her. What, I'm not saying you're wrong. What gives off that evilness? Whether it's something bad or a bit of selfishness, or what's giving you that tingle, Funny Dill? And we get a starting package of some gear. A light crossbow and 20 bolts, or any simple weapon. A component pouch or an arcane focus, a dungeoneer's pack or an explorer's pack, and 2 daggers. Well, you know what? If she was holed up in some ruins, it's probably for the best. If she had something like a light crossbow. Not that, I mean, if this is your character, do what you want with the starting package. But if we go light crossbow, that gives her a solid ranged option. She's also going to get 2 daggers. Now, a component pouch or an arcane focus. There's mechanically not really a difference. It would be more of an expression of her personality, I think. And given that she has an herbalism kit, given that she kind of lives out in the wild and she collects things, unless perhaps we want to say that the relic she watched over is her arcane focus. Ooh. That could be very interesting. It may not be a MacGuffin for the story, but she's carrying that around. Or you could make the argument that because she does collect information, she collects bits of nature, herbs, secret herbs and spices, that she would keep a component pouch on her because she already keeps a bunch of other stuff on her too. You weren't aiming with them all. Oh, gotcha, Victor. So it was an inside job. The evilness is from the time being cooped up in one's mind. Oh. So she does want to experience the world, but perhaps her thoughts, while not necessarily bad to her, might come across as strange or evil to other people because she is culturally disjointed from the rest of society. Let's have a little bit of storytelling fun, and let's give her an arcane focus that has to tie in with her. Maybe it ties in with the ruins or her discovery feature. And lastly, a Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. Well, those are just combo meals that have different goodies inside of them. And so, I mean, that's really your decision. Given the fact she kind of sat on some ruins for a while and was exploring them, let's give her a Dungeoneer's pack. Oh, but you got him, Victor. You got him good. Hi, Cat. You're back again. Okay. Now, we're also, because we're generating her at 13, we're going to be including the things at first level and beyond. So, as you can see here, by level 13, we are going to know 6 cantrips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so our half-elf on page 1 is competing with that. And that's fine, because we have an actual spell list here. So, or not half-elf, high-elf. But then we get 6 other cantrips that we'll have picked up along the way. And remember, these are gonna tell her story. Like, what did she learn? When and why? Why did she adapt her magic to be able to cast this continuously? And for her spell slots, she gets 4 first level spells, 3 second. Well, so she doesn't get in quantity. She can cast spells at this level, this quantity of times. 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. Now, we do not get the ability to cast ritual spells unless we took the feat to do so, or if we were a multi-class character. But that's fine because we get to use magic in a different way as a sorcerer. It's more like a mutant power. We are the magic. We can manipulate it on a visceral level, not just study it with some drawings out of a book like a wizard. Hey, good morning, Lady Atara. It is great to have you back again. I hope that that you and your animals have been well in this very unseasonable cold. Or I guess it is seasonal. It's winter, but in this very harsh cold. I hope you've been doing really well. That you've been able to keep all the mamminals bundled up. Okay. Now let's take a look at what we get as a sorcerer, regardless of our subclass. All sorcerers are going to get these abilities, and we're going to go up to level 13. Well, first off, we're going to get sorcery points. That's what allows us to manipulate magic. And so, sorcery points known by 13th level, we get 13 of them. Isn't that convenient? Yeah, indeed, lady. I'm out of soda. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break here anyway to refresh ourselves. So hang in there. We're almost to that point. We are going to be able to use those sorcery points to manipulate our spells and our spell slots. We are also going to be getting meta magic. This, my friends, is what is going to let us play with our spells and have some fun. You gain 2 meta magic options at 3rd level, and you get another one at 10th. We're not 17th level, so unfortunately we won't get a 4th option for some time if we were to play this character through. And, well, that's our capstone at level 20. We're not worried about that. So let's take a look at our meta magic, right? Let's consider our character. Who is she? How does she act? So she's this hermit. In fact, the ruins might have influenced her magic or given her magic. You know, think about her lifestyle. How would this have affected how she wields magic? Not just the spells that she learns, but also how she can manipulate those spells. So you have careful spell, distance spell, empowered spell, extended spell, heightened spell, quickened spell, subtle spell, and twinned spell. If you can read them here, go ahead. I'm not going to go through each one because every time we roll a sorcerer, that would just get kind of redundant. But thinking broadly about the concept, what would she have learned how to do if she's living effectively alone? out in the wilderness. Well, extended spell might work because it you get more work out of your spells that you cast. And so if she's having to cast defensive spells or other spells that could support her or create effects, that could be very important to her survival. What else here? I don't know if she's necessarily empowered, you know, for high damage. I don't know if she's really ever had to damage things or people with spells before. Distance spell might work also. So let's put distance spell. When you cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range of the spell, or you can turn a touch spell into a spell that could be up to 30 feet away. Then we also are going to give her extended spell. And lastly, let's see. If she wants to try and, I don't know, convince people of something, you know, we'll make her charismatic. She wants to get the word out. Perhaps heightened spell would be appropriate, because that gives disadvantage on a save versus a spell. And so if someone's not listening to you and you want them to be quiet, or you want them to consider you a friend so they'll actually listen to what you're saying and not just, you look like a Looney Tune crackpot out of the woods, she can manipulate her spell to give disadvantage on a save versus that effect. That's thematic and can work as well. Lady Atara, remember the half-elf character we made? I finally found a local group to play her. Oh, that's great! So have you found the group, have you got to sit down and play her yet? And that was so much fun when we were making that character with you, Lady Atara. I do remember that, you know, that is another one of the fond memories I have of this past year. Now that we've, you know, anniversary 1 has come and gone. This is the anniversary week. We're celebrating and having fun. And so thank you for being a part of it in that way and for coming by and conversing. And hey, if anything, Lady Atara, I do try and pay attention to the things that you all say out there, you know, in class, and we're kind of joking around. You know, who you are, what you do, the things you enjoy. You know, asking after your animals. You know, because those critters need some love too, especially in this weather. And so, you know, that was a concern. And for those of you that I meet and we talk and you show up here, I do my best to try and learn some aspects about you so we can talk and converse a little bit more personally than just, I'm a guy on Twitch and you're the one watching, and that's it. Oh, cool, lady. Well, hey, if you want to share stories of her at the tabletop, you know where to do it, or you can go to our Discord too. And also, Hayama, welcome. Thank you for the follow. That's very kind. And I hope, Hayama, that you're enjoying the content as well, coming along on this ride with us as we're discovering this character. All right, now let's explore this wild magic aspect to our character. We are going to get Wild Magic Surge. Starting when you choose this origin at first level, your spellcasting can unleash surges of untamed magic. Immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell of first level or higher, the DM can have you roll a d20. If you roll a 1, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a random magical effect. That's a fun table, by the way. Also, Tides of Chouse. Starting at first level, you can manipulate the forces of chance and chaos to gain advantage on one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Once you do so, you must finish a long rest before you can use this feature again. Anytime before you regain the use of this feature, the DM can have you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell of first level or higher. You then regain the use of this feature. So a little bit of risk and reward, huh? Spicy Larry! Happy New Year again to you. Happy anniversary to all of us. Welcome, Spicy Larry. You know, we need more spice in this world as it is succumbing to the polar vortex. We need the heat. But welcome to you, sir. It's good to have you back. we can also bend luck. Starting at 6th level, you have the ability to twist fate using your wild magic. When another creature you can see makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can use your reaction and spend 2 sorcery points to roll 1d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or penalty, your choice, to the creature's roll. You can do so after the creature rolls, but before any effects of the roll occur. So again, you're manipulating chance or fate or chouse, if you wish to call it as such. And our next ability, well, that's at 14th level, so we're almost at Controlled Chaos. Almost. But this is what we get for being level 13. And so, for an example, if you're this, if you have a wild magic effect that occurs, I'll tell you what, as an example, let's see. Delcorin, if you're out there, roll me a D100, please. Yes, Spicy Larry, bring the spice, please. We need it. Alright, Delcorin, the Wild Mage, rolls a 4 on the table. So, Delcorin, this is what happens. For the next minute, you can see any invisible creature if you have line of sight to it. Look around you, Delcorin. What do you see? Black Wolf, roll me a D100. Delcorin will see Will Wheaton blessing you. Alright, so Black Wolf invokes this this chaotic magic. And you get a 62. For the next minute, you must shout when you speak. Because magic is surging through your body. And you're now unable to control the volume of your voice. And let's do one more. Lady Atara, roll me a D100. And let's see what happens when Lady Atara, Chaos Sorcerer, casts a spell and invokes wild magic. Get a load of this guy. Good role playing. Lol, that's awesome. Oh, Lady Atari, you need exclamation point 1 D100. A 36. Lady Atara is summoning arcane forces. It's she's channeling them through her body. Her spell goes off, but there's a little bit of extra energy that manifests in a particular way. And on a 36, Atara, the Chaos Mage here. Lady Atara, roll exclamation point 1 D10. And let's see what happens. It stops on a 4. All right. Roll a d10. Your age changes by a number of years equal to the roll. If the roll is odd, you get younger, minimum 1 year old. If the roll is even, you get older. Lady Atara, you cast your spell, and you age 4 years. There you go. Now, we are going to get to choose cantrips and spells and such, and we'll do that in a little bit. Let's drop in our scores. All right, it's like dropping in the engine into the chassis. Yeah, so Lady Atara, oh, now you're 138 years old. Where did the time go, Lady Atara? All right, Victor, you know you're welcome back here. I recommend using the standard array of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. If you want to do it differently, your DM might have you do a point-buy system, might have you roll for the stats. Something to discuss at your sessions. Aging 4 years is great if you're 17. And you know what? It also depends on the race, right? If you're like a tiefling or a human that's a little shorter lived. I mean, if you're an elf, you're like, what? That tickled. So let's drop these numbers, and then we're going to adjust them by our racial modifications, and then we're going to apply a stat bump at level 4, 8, and 12. That adds 2 points to one stat, or 1 point to 2 stats. Being a sorcerer, charisma is very important. That's your spell casting. That's your spellcasting stat. Now, can you play a sorcerer with low charisma? Yes, you can. And you can still have effective spells. So don't make that mistake that you just have to max out your main stat. Many people do. Nothing wrong with it. But you can also challenge yourself to think a little differently. How would I roll if this character actually only had like a 13 or 14 charisma? If we're kind of doing a bread and butter build, charisma is important, so let's put the 15 here. Probably the 14 in dex, because your dexterity is going to be important for your ability to dodge attacks and to wield some weapons like daggers or ranged weapons like crossbows. Now, I mean, if you cast spells off of your charisma, you have ranged attacks and such. But this would be a good backup stat for you as well. Now, being raised as she is, being inquisitive, I definitely think having an intelligence of 13 here is going to be important, right? She can piece things together. She can figure things out. She knows several languages. So we've used our 15, our 14, and our 13, leaving a 12, 10, and 8. So, living in the wilds, you know, she's definitely, you know, she's been taking her herbs, right? She's a very healthy person for middle age. So let's put her 12 in Constitution and her 10 in Wisdom. And you know what? Magic may have, it's not that she's lazy, but she's just never had the need to really do a bunch of push-ups. Because, you know, nature's provided everything she needs. The ruins are rather easy to access and get around. So she's not the strongest of characters. You know, she doesn't have like little baby arms, but she, you know, she's not gonna necessarily push boulders. Oh, have you been role-playing and hitting that charisma pretty hard with role-play, or are you also using it through mechanics and other things too, Lady Atara? All right, now that we have that, let's add in our racial bonuses. So that's going to put our intelligence at a 14. And our dexterity at a 16. And now we get 6 points that we can distribute into any of our stats having a cap of 20. Now, given who she is, the things she's discovered, well, charisma is definitely going to be important, and I think we should put 3 of our points into charisma. Whoops, I'm sorry, 3 would bring us to an 18. Ah, I can math. After that, we can probably help develop her perception, her ability to look around, and let's drop 2 more points into Wisdom. Now you'll see that I've been going for even numbers. Even numbers will increase your modifier, and these are going to be important numbers here just shortly. If you ever find yourself saying, oh, where am I going to float this extra number? Well, some feats will give a stat bump of 1, so you can round up that way. Or if you're ever in a pinch, and you still want a mechanical benefit from having an odd number, dump it into strength. Because things like your carrying capacity, your ability to push, pull, drag, and lift are calculated off of your strength score, not your strength modifier. Alright, so now that we've done this, our charisma has a +4, wisdom is 1, intelligence 2, constitution 1, dexterity is 3, and strength is -1. Our proficiency bonus, which rides with us at all levels, even if we multi-class, is a +5, meaning that anything that is checkmarked right next to it, we get to add a 5 to it and not just the ability modifier. So for strength, well, unfortunately, we're going to copy and paste this -1 to her saving throw and her athletics check. Dexterity is going to be nice and 3 across the board. You know, that's not terrible. Constitution, 6, right? She's proficient, and she has a +1 modifier to her constitution. Her intelligence, everything except religion and arcana are 2, and arcana and religion are going to be 7s because she has proficiency. Wisdom is going to be 1 down the line, except insight, medicine, and perception, which is going to be 6. And lastly, charisma, a 9 saving throw, really good at that. And then a 4 deception, 4 intimidation, 4 performance, and 4 persuasion. I believe charisma has helped. Okay, I'm an expert. I'm an expert, experienced forger, so charisma is vital. Yes, indeed. So what are some of the personas that you've taken on then, Lady Atara? Boy, I'm so glad that you're getting use from this character. That really makes me happy. That really does. So now that we have our engine, right? Let's see where, what happens. We want to fire our light crossbow. That's dexterity based. So to attack with it, we have a dexterity of +3, our modifier, and we're proficient, so we have a +8. Daggers can be wielded with strength or with dexterity because it is a finesse weapon. So we can also stab or throw with our dagger at a +8. And then when we add in our damage, light crossbows are 1d8 plus your dexterity mod. Dagger is 1d4 plus the modifier you're using to attack. And in this case, both of these are going to be piercing weapons. I'm going to make a note on this page that, there's other cantrips that we're going to be taking. We also get passive perception. That's going to be 16. Why 16? Passive perception is just your natural awareness. As we're talking, if someone opened your front door, even though you're watching, asking questions, sharing stories, or whatever, you'd be able to hear that without actively listening. And so that's what this score is meant to do. It saves you a ton of dice rolls. It's an awesome thing to incorporate into a game, in my opinion. Along with passive insight and even a passive investigation. But anyway, our perception modifier is 6. We had 10. There's our passive perception. Now, if we want to attack with a spell, our spell, we cast off charisma, right? Our presence, our sheer existence as a channel for magic to flow through. So similar to the weapons, except a little bit higher, right? 4 + 5, we have a +9 to attack with our spells. And if a spell causes a saving throw to try and avoid damage or the effects of, like, I don't know, putting them to sleep or something, you add 8 to your attack modifier. It's always 8, and you're going to find that across all the classes. So you need the enemy will need a 17 or better to avoid some or all aspects of your spell. Our initiative is a +3 because initiative is simply a dexterity check. How twitchy are you? Some people, and we did this in 4th edition, at least at our tabletop, allowed intelligence to be an initiative modifier instead of dexterity. And I think there's even some options, if I recall correctly, in Xanathar's guide that actually allows you to add intelligence or wisdom to your dexterity to represent you being very observant of what's going on around you. It's been so much fun. I'm very glad, lady. Or if I already read that, then I'm sorry. Our armor class. Well, we don't really wear armor. We didn't go to armor wearing school. So everyone starts at a 10, and then you can add your dexterity. So we're just naturally dodgy at a 13. Now there's magic and other things that we can wear, or we could take a feat later on that'll teach us how to wear armor and still be able to cast in it too. But right now in this snapshot, she has a 13 AC. And lastly, but not leastly, let's calculate her hit points. Okay? At level 1, you get your hit dice in maximum hit points. So she's a D6 hit die class. So at level 1, she gets the full 6. Every other level, so in this case, all 12 other levels, she's level 13, you get half plus 1 of your hit die unless your DM determines otherwise. So in that case, it's going to be 4. Right? Half of 6 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Now, for every level, all 13 of them, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. So that's why having, a healthy diet in this case has helped her out, right? We gave her a 12 in con because she's going to get 13 bonus hit points on top of this because of that Constitution modifier. So now let's add it up. So we have 6 plus 13 plus 48. So we have 54 plus 13. We have 67 hit points by level 13. It's not too shabby. Spell slots 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, and 1. This sheet is nice because you have some good abbreviations on your first page for your spell casting. And there we go. Now, she needs a name, everyone. Has this character inspired you in some way? Right? We have this female high elf wild magic sorcerer who's lived as a hermit for a good portion of time. She's only just now leaving her ruins to re-enter society with this dire prophecy. What would you like to call her? What would you like to name her? Does she have a very highfalutin sounding elven name? Or in her hermitage, has she simply been known as, Lady Stone because she lives in the ruins? And everyone in the area just knows that, oh, that's old Lady Stone. She's forsaken her elven name. Spicy Larry says, Flemmeth. We can go with Flemmeth. Is that just as she's known? Paisley says Maria. She lost her real name and just read it off of a book. Oh, Witch of the Wilds. Okay. She opened her eyes after 150 years and named herself after the first thing she saw. Bucket, says Jedi Crusader. Lady Atara is suggesting the name Alice. So sure, let's put these names out here. Flemmeth, Maria, Alice, Bucket, or something, something along those lines that Jedi is saying here. I like Paisley's idea. She came down from her ruins and someone asked her name and saw it on a book and that became her name. So in that case, maybe only she knows her true name. Everyone else has forgotten it. And so she just calls herself something local, something colloquial, right? So in that case, she might, her full elven name might be... We'll combine Alice and Bucket. Alycket or Alycket Flemmeth. But everyone local to her, which is really just anyone else that maybe even is still alive in the region, just simply knows her as Maria. I'm thinking she has also forgotten her name. She just picked something quickly when someone asked, like she was enough of a hermit to forget the concept. Yeah, so maybe in this case... this could even be a part of her discovery. Maybe her true name was lost, and when she finds it, it'll be the revelation that can lead to something. I think there's an awesome... Look, there's no mechanics to this. We're just talking about a character's name. And look at all of the roleplay potential that you've just created by making these propositions over here. There's an entire story to her name. This is why I like you all. This is why we hang out, everyone. That being said, the majority of our character is made. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. Let's stretch, use the restroom, get a snack and a drink. And when we come back, I want to do a part 2, and let's go a little bit deeper dive. Right? Let's add on details like this about her name. Let's pick her spells and why she chose the spells that she took. Let's discuss it. Let's bring this character to life and have her be a part of the world in some way. Because even in a small way, all of us are still a part of the world. We still influence it. That's powerful. That's the stuff of gods and legends. You influence the world by your presence. So think about that. And think about what we want to do with this character. Let's dig into her spells, as her spells also tell her story. Oh, it'll be a 12-month anniversary, Spicy Larry. Well, you know what? So next month, maybe I'll just have to keep some very spicy beef jerky nearby, and we'll have a snack date together, Spicy Larry. I'll eat something spicy on stream to celebrate our year together. Thank you very much, Spicy Larry. And you know what? Thank you also for supporting the minis that you have. I'm still hanging on to them, and I very much appreciate that support, and that you've given some minis a good home, Spicy Larry. That's kind of you, above and beyond even the re-upping of your subscription. She was picked on as a child for a real name, says Jedi, so lived a life as a hermit until and everyone she knew was dead. She emerges hundreds of years later as Maria. Poor Bruce. All right, Spicy, I'll have to keep some beef jerky or something for well, it's technically February, but I'll keep something towards the end of the month going into March, and we'll see what happens. All right, 10 minutes, everyone. Here's your bathroom pass. You know, go and assemble back in the classroom in 10 minutes. And let's take a deeper dive into this character and flesh her out and give her spells and even more concentration. Hey, yeah, Spicy Larry, I have Tyranny of Dragons, I have Storm King's Thunder, I have Ravnica, and I have Monster Menagerie 2. So if you want to pop some boxes, that'd be absolutely fine.